Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for December 4th, 2013. I'm Joanne Williams. This week, to fight that turkey dinner haze, we'll visit the Ladies Workout Express. We have a review of the art of Zenobia Bailey. We'll profile Wes Moore, a Rhodes Scholar, author, and military veteran. And we'll talk about how you can help Milwaukee's homeless veterans this holiday season. And we begin this holiday season with a familiar sound. That bell is the sound of the Salvation Army's Red Kettle campaign. It will continue at over 100 locations in the Milwaukee area until Christmas Eve. But the campaign will continue through January 31st, 2014. The goal this year is to raise $3.5 million, and we're joined by the Salvation Army's Major Dan Jennings, Division Commander for Wisconsin and Upper Michigan. That's a big area.
That is a big area, but it's a beautiful area. We love Wisconsin and Upper Michigan. It's good to be here.
Well, good to have you here. Now, this campaign, you're going to shooting for $3 million plus?
$3.5 million. Last year, the goal was $3 million, but the need has increased. It does every year. And this year, to be able to keep pace with the need, we have to raise $3.5 million.
What kind of need are we talking about? What do people need?
Well, this is the basic needs. People need food, they need housing, and they need clothing. So those are the types of things that we're going to do with the money that we raise over the Christmas season.
Why is there no decrease in the need? What's happening in society?
Well, I think the pressures just become greater and greater. As you know, everything's become more expensive. The jobs have become more rare. And so in this economy that's difficult, we have more and more people who are becoming just poor. You know, the amount of the poor is increasing. And so the thing that we see is that as we look at the people who are coming to us for service, we're really alarmed by the people who've never come to the Salvation Army before for service, who are coming for the very first time. And some of those folks who are coming, who are people in the past who used to give to us, used to be part of the contributing public, but now are having to come to us for the first time for need.
So we're talking about people who were middle class, if we want to categorize them, who've now dropped their status to needy class.
Right.
I don't want to call them poor necessarily, but people who need help from somebody else. Is it hard for them to come to you?
It's very difficult in many cases for some people to come because they've never had to navigate this whole system before. They've never had to come in and actually ask for help. So it's hard for people to come in. There's some swallowing of the pride that has to happen. So we try to be as sensitive as we can to those issues and really try to make them feel like we're here to help. It's a good place to come.
Do a lot of those people then improve their circumstances and come back and be donors once again? Can that happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It can always happen. All it takes is a job or education or those types of things that if you either lose them or get them, it really transports you to one side or the other of the economy.
Mm-hmm. When the people come to you for services, what kind of services do you offer?
Well, we offer a variety of services. One is some people come just because they don't have enough food to get through the end of the month. And so they come and they ask for a food box. So we gather up some things, we put it in a box, and then we give it to this family to take home and just to get through till, like I said, the end of the month. It may be that an extra bill came through that month. It may be that something happened that they weren't expecting and they just can't make ends meet. So that's like the real basic level. Some people come to us because they've just received a note that says you have to leave your apartment or your home. And so they have no place to turn, no place to go to be able to house themselves. And so they come to us. And we have a variety of things they do. In some cases, we pay their rent for a month or two to make sure they can stay in their house. In other cases, we take them into our facilities because they need some place to come. So we take them in the shelter. In other cases, people have a dual diagnosis. Not only are they facing the fact that they have no place to live, but they also have mental health issues. And
well, I was going to say, how many people are we talking about who not necessarily have the double problem or even the triple problem, but how many people do you serve?
We serve thousands of people every year. We have about a 40-room apartment building where we just house people who are both mentally ill and homeless at the same time. So you start thinking about the staggering numbers of the amount of people that we have to help in those circumstances. But we help tens of thousands of people through whatever they happen to need when they come in. Some people, they can't fill their prescriptions. They paid their rent, they bought their food, and now they have no money to buy the prescriptions that they need. So they come to us and we provide prescription help.
Tell me where the Salvation Army is located. Where's the headquarters and where are your other offices?
Well, we have several offices in town. Our headquarters is located in Wauwatosa, but we provide no service out of that building. That building is there to support the other things that happen. So in Walnut, we have a building, and also about 40th and Villard, we have a building. And then in Oak Creek, and then we're going to have a brand new center in December on Cold Spring that'll serve that area. So that gives us good coverage throughout the city.
The reason I ask that is so that people will understand that it's not just a central city service.
That's exactly right. And you think about Oak Creek. It seems like a relatively affluent area, but there are people in Oak Creek who are hurting just as much as they're hurting in the central city. And we provide those same essential services in Oak Creek that we provide right on 5th and Walnut.
Now, if people want to get in touch with the Salvation Army, aside from putting money in the kettle, which you want them to do every time they see a red kettle, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, here's the easiest way. We have a telephone number you can call, which is a centralized telephone number, and that'll get you to where you need help. And that number is 414-302-4300. So that's a number they can call, they can get a hold of us, and then we can direct them to the office where they need to go to get help.
We'll see if you hit that $3 million dollar mark this year.
3.5 went up a little bit this year.
Surpass that. Thank you very much for coming and talking with us.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Jennings from the Salvation Army.
When you exercise, it makes you feel good. It's a great stress reliever, and many of us are under a lot of stress, so this is a great way to do it.
This is Ladies Workout Express, a gym designed with women in mind. It's helpful to be in an environment with others similar to you, and being involved in a formal exercise program has benefits.
Of course, lose weight, makes you feel great. This is a great way to relieve stress. We have so many women who have taken on so much that they need this. Reduce high blood pressure. There are a lot of women who are no longer taking high blood pressure medication or diabetes medication as a result of exercise. What we do here is called circuit training, which is what this is here. It's weight-bearing exercises in addition to a cardiovascular workout. It takes 30 minutes to do the circuit. You're going to work every muscle group in your body at least 4 times. The equipment that we have here is hydraulic equipment, so it's based on a push-pull motion. So it's very easy on your joints, and the faster you push and pull, the more resistance you're going to feel. So you're in control of what you're doing. So it's a very easy way to get started with working out. Also, we do Zumba here. We do regular Zumba classes, we do Zumba toning classes, and also we do Zumba Gold. And Zumba Gold is a Zumba class for older women or people who are sedentary, just starting out to work out. So we have a class for them as well. Zumba means join the party. So anybody can do Zumba, whether you're old, young, have not worked out in a while, because basically you're going to move, you're only going to do what you can do. So anyone can do Zumba. So it's easy, it's fun, it's a great way to sculpt and tone your body. You can burn between 600 to 1,000 calories doing Zumba.
I've lost 160 pounds, and I walked in and said, please work me out, and Sherry did just that. And so first I started on the circuit, and then when I got a more stressful job and needed to do other things, I did the Zumba and the circuit and walked to the gym every morning.
I have lost weight, I have toned up, and my mood is better, and my stress is less, and I'm happier and more joyful.
To what degree are the physical and mental health connected?
As women, we typically take on so much, and what we have a tendency to do is when someone gets sick, we give up our exercise and we don't take care of ourselves. So this is a great way to keep ourselves mentally and physically going.
It's such a stress reliever. It's a great way to relax yourself and not have to eat or go have a drink after work, but come and work out and relax yourself. It's really great.
I'm a church pastor, and I work a lot of hours, and part of my work is helping people manage their stress. It's part of what church is for. And so when I come here, it's the workout, it's the people, it's Sherry, who's amazing and supportive, And that just helps me be better at everything I do.
Anyone can lose weight. It's about monitoring what you're eating. It's about drinking water and exercising. And you know, it takes us a while. We want quick fixes, and that's not how that works. What you have to do is, you know, just take care of your body and then just be patient, because it will come off, because it took us a while to put the weight on, and it's going to take a while to take the weight off.
My doctor's really, really proud of me. I lost a lot of weight too. They was worried about me because I was a diabetic. I was taking insulin. Now I don't take any insulin. I manage it with my diet and exercise.
Can I ask, how much weight did you lose?
About 50 pounds.
Again, see your doctor or a nutritionist, and they can modify depending on what your health issue is. So they're the ones that would modify that, and then we the ones would help you to lose the weight.
What are some of the biggest challenge to sticking with an exercise program?
Well, with exercise, you have to make it an appointment. You have to use exercise just like everything else. When you have a doctor's appointment, you know that appointment. So with exercise, it's the same thing. You have to set that appointment. So if you know that you're going to be here at 8:30 on Monday morning, you need to write that down and make an appointment for yourself, because your health is just as important as everything else that you do. I think that it's important for women to know that, that our children are looking at us, and that we have to, you know, we have to be role models for them. And if we exercise, our children are going to exercise.
So role model for your family and get involved. Exercise for better health, and one way to do this is with Ladies Workout Express.
In the American story, artists from far and wide fuse personal identity with cultural heritage. Zenobia Bailey dives into the African-American aesthetic of crochet.
Now, with the aesthetic that you learned in school and what you had grown up with, is this a combination of those works, or is this your idea of the African-American aesthetic?
My instructors told me there was no such thing as an African-American aesthetic, and I told them there was, because that's how I was in art school, because I was, that's the aesthetic that I was raised on, because I deal with the aesthetic of funk. It's really based on an emotional rhythm, pattern kind of development, and the color combinations. There's no set technique to do it, except for the stitching. But as far as the surface design, you know when it works and you know when it doesn't work.
When did you start displaying your works, or this collection?
Well, this collection started at the turn of the century. Started doing a residency I was in the Studio Museum of Harlem. Nothing was done as far as that residency was concerned. And I titled that Paradise Under Reconstruction in the Aesthetic of Funk. That was the first stage. From there, I was just working for 7 years. It was a 7-year project. I was just working on different components, kind of trying to build the whole concept together. I started with the hats. The hats, I used myself as the muse.
Right.
And I started designing hats that I could wear to the different functions and different things that I go to develop that lifestyle. Hats take about 2 weeks to do. The other pieces are the mandalas. They're points of concentration for meditation. These are based off of a lot of inspirational and spiritual artifacts from different cultures, and combining the aesthetic of funk to it.
Does each one of these pieces, like some of these are just, they look so extremely vast and time consuming. How long does it normally take you to do a piece?
What I do with each piece is I just do individual circles. Mm-hmm. And I just do like a bunch of different circles, different sizes, and then I'll just all of a sudden stop and take the largest piece and put it on the wall. And then I'll take another piece and I'll start composing the different pieces. And then after I see that it's where I want it to be, then I start putting the blanket stitch to stitch them all together. But it's a phase of a lot of crocheting, and the largest pieces take about a month to do, maybe a couple of weeks to a month to do. And the smaller pieces I don't even know because I'm just, you know, I never really time them or anything. But the tent took about 6 months to do. This tent here took about six months to do.
And you put the garments for each one of these?
Yeah, I made the garments. I made everything for them. The faces are made out of terracotta clay. I made a mold for them. And then I painted it over with acrylic paint. And then I made their dresses.
In addition to her artwork, Zenobia has also developed a workshop.
It's in my head right now. Goodness.
What is the workshop itself about?
The workshop itself is about creativity and community development, and that's what this is. This is a community, and this is a community that's like gypsies on the road, you know, and like what we're doing, we set up camp here, and we have the workshops in the artery, and from that workshops, we're trying to stimulate, inspire creativity within the communities wherever we go. And really, it's something that everybody can do right now, because like in every household, somebody knows how to crochet, somebody knows how to knit, somebody knows how to sew, you know. So it's just being inspired to do it, you know, but all this, nothing is new. None of it is new. It's all about the needle, the imagination, and just taking the time to do it with a heap of yarn and imagination, and your imagination takes you to, you know,
New
wherever
heights.
you want to go. You know, it's like your magic carpet ride.
And we can never have an honest conversation about the future of our community if only a slither of the population is even being thought about in that conversation.
Wes Moore is a motivational speaker, a Rhodes Scholar, a White House Fellow, and a decorated combat veteran. He spoke at MATC recently about his first book, The Other Wes Moore, One Name, Two Fates. The book is about the lives of two boys with identical names growing up in Baltimore, both coming from single-parent families and choosing different life paths.
So The Other Wes Moore is basically about the journey of myself and another guy who grew up in my neighborhood and who actually has the same name. We have a lot of other similarities besides that, but he's currently spending the rest of his life in prison for the murder of a police officer. And really what I tried to do in the story was to delve into these two stories and to try to come up with a better understanding of what ends up happening in these two lives that eventually caused this split.
Now, with that split, what prompted you to contact the other Wes Moore? I mean, you didn't know him.
Well, I mean, I'd heard about Wes Moore right after the crime, but I'd never met him before. And there were so many questions that I wanted to ask, and I knew he was the only one that could answer them. So one day I just decided to write him a note, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't even sure if he'd write back. But eventually, after the note I got back from him, it only really forced more questions. And so I decided to reach out to him further, and now I've known him for close to a decade.
Moore says it's important that his audiences understand that the book is about more than two kids with the same name.
Was I try to make it very clear this story is about much more than just these two kids. It's about much more than just one name and one neighborhood and one race and one socioeconomic group and one generation. It's about all this. About the decisions that we make in our lives, and tantamount to that, the people who we have in our lives who help us to make those decisions.
I really want to talk to them about this idea of choices, and as we're going through our own individual lives, how sometimes the smallest decisions can make the biggest impacts in all of our lives. And also, as we're thinking about that, you know, to understand that that line is very thin between our life and someone else's life. And sometimes the more we appreciate that, and the more we understand that and embrace that, the richer we not only make our own lives, but our entire community. One of the things I really tried to understand, even with the process of this book, was, you know, and people sometimes even say that, like, so what's the one thing? What's the thing that we can help give a kid, or help give a kid, you know, go one way or another way? And the thing I really pulled away from it is there is no one thing. You know, raising kids is amazingly complicated. And when you happen to be raising kids in some of the most precarious communities of our country, it's that much more complicated. I do know there are a lot of things that do fundamentally matter, things like support and mentorship and family and education, etc. But I know another big thing that matters are expectations. The expectations that we place on ourselves and the expectations that we place on other people generally end up coming to fruition. So it's important that we actually think about that dynamic in its truest form.
Moore served as a paratrooper and captain in the Army and did combat duty in Afghanistan. He also committed to helping military veterans and their families.
One of the things that we spend a lot of time on right now is looking at the situation for veterans. And you know, a lot of people know the statistics that's happening with veterans and the challenges that veterans are facing. The fact that we lost more veterans last year to suicide, more active duty soldiers to suicide than we did to combat. You know, the fact that on average we're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide inside this country. You know, this is a reality that our veterans community is facing and wrestling with every single day. And I think part of the challenge is that for so many people who fight overseas, when they come back home, they realize that the things that they thought would be there are not. The fact that we have a close to 9.8% unemployment rate amongst the veterans community, which is almost 2 full percentage points higher than the national average. The fact that we have so many veterans who will enter school and not finish. This creates a real certain level of disillusionment, and that I think really helps to hinder the transition process as they're coming back home. So I think this country has a moral obligation, for the 2.6 million people that have had to go overseas and fight in Iraq or Afghanistan, and that's just Iraq and Afghanistan. We've got a moral obligation to make sure that as they come back home, that they're not just getting all the supports they need while they're fighting, but then they can get the same kind of supports, them and their families, when they come back home.
The similarities between Wes's fight for veterans and stories he outlines in his book are the constant battles for support and the isolation people can face in their neighborhoods. He has a message suitable to both students and veterans.
I think the advice I would give to people who believe that they're on their own is to tell them you're not. Whether you realize it or not, you've got people who are fighting and advocating for you every day. Sometimes they are family members, sometimes they're aunts, uncles, or cousins, and sometimes they're friends, and sometimes they're people who you've never met before, who are out there every single day fighting to make sure that opportunities are there for you, that doors can be opened for you, that you can actually see a world, a bigger world that includes you as a key part of it. So even in our darkest moments, when we think we're all alone, remember that we're not. We've got we've got people out there supporting us. We've got a great God that's willing to support us. As long as we remember that, and remember that this walk is not being made as a solo journey, it makes the path a bit easier.
It's estimated that between 300 and 400 homeless veterans sleep on the streets of Milwaukee every night. Tracy Spurko is the executive director of the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
What's the mission of the initiative?
To not leave our wounded behind, and those that are out on the street, and those at risk, because there's also 5,000, roughly 500 a night, a day, at risk in Milwaukee County of becoming homeless. And we are here to help them in the ways, various different ways that they need help.
You say they're at risk. What's the risk? What are they facing?
They're living so much on the edge that if one paycheck, one thing goes wrong, they can end up being homeless. And it happens every day, and as we're sitting here, there's probably somebody who's either burned a last bridge, come to the end of the line, and now they're out on the street.
When we see veterans coming home from Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever they've been serving, nowadays there's such a great celebration. Here they are, they're home, it's so wonderful. But we don't go back 2 or 3 months after that to find out what happens to them. Is that where things tend to fall off the tracks?
2 to 3 months, it can be years later. There's something in serving that we are taught to do it ourselves. And even when you start to struggle, is what we find, that people don't ask for help and they keep trying one more thing, and then they're living in their car, and then their car gets towed, and then they're on the street. And in Milwaukee, we do have a number of shelters so that many of the people aren't seen daily, but they are there, and they are people without a home. And there are resources trying to find them a home, and that's one of our largest missions, is that when they are working with the Veterans Administration or the Center for Veterans Issues, and they get a subsidy for an apartment, that we come in and we help them with everything that you need. And I say it's a place to put your butt, a place to put your head, and a place for your coffee cup. Some of the things that we all take for granted in our 4 walls.
And you want people to donate to help these veterans.
That's how we exist. It's on the generosity of the Milwaukee community. Everything that we have, the furniture, the kitchen kits, so that you can use your kitchen and the emergency food that you get at the pantry. All of those items come from the people in the community, and they're things that they have in their own homes. Maybe they've downsized, maybe someone's passed away, or sometimes they go out and they purchase things that they bring to us.
If people want to find out more about the initiative, the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I think the easiest way would be to call 414-763-5596.
Is this just during the holiday season?
This would be 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 1.
And is the need just when we have Thanksgiving and other holidays on our minds, or is the need all year round?
The need is all year round. I think we feel it particularly in the cold weather. I was very cold coming in here, but I had someplace to go, and I had a coat on, and I had gloves, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us, Tracy Spurko of the Milwaukee Homeless Veterans Initiative. And you want us to remember our veterans 365 days of the year. Thanks for coming and talking with us.
Thank you very much.
And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Good night.